Hey, I
Hey,
said I wanted to talk to you
yeah, you did. You said you wanted
because
to talk to me.
I don't talk to you off air.
I know we don't talk before the people might not know that, but we get the studio all set up and then we don't talk to each other because we want it to seem like we're actually talking to each other.
Yeah, we don't want that canned vibe where, it feels like it's all set up and everything. You're wearing a hat tonight. Look at
Yeah.
you.
What do you think of this? What do you think of this lid, huh?
For those not watching, Matthew's got a really swanky straw. Is it a straw hat?
It's raffia or what is it called?
Well, you bought the hat. I don't
I
know what
didn't
it's
buy it.
called.
This was a birthday present from our
Oh, yeah.
father. Yeah.
Wow, that's really nice.
Because now that I have no hair on the top of my head and I live in Southern California, I need to wear a hat all the time. And I've been wearing just baseball hats.
Brother, you don't have hair on the sides of your head.
thank,
But I don't either. I'll
thank
show
you.
you. I've
Oh,
gone full shavo head time.
it's
Yeah.
nice, isn't it?
I do like it. I get to a point where, there's like I have about a week's window where my hair looks okay
Yeah.
growing out, but only for a week, maybe less. And I miss that window and it's a disaster. And it's just too much effort to deal with something that's just not even in there. It's a
That's not
fantasy.
there.
No.
Yeah. It is a fantasy. It's very sad. How are
Well,
you doing? Aside from the
I'm
hair.
good. Aside from my hair loss, which is a constant sorrow, which I bear, I'm very good. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine.
So you seemed like excited to talk. You're like, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Anything in particular, or you just wanted the freedom
No,
to
I wanted to talk to
casually talk?
somebody. I wanted to have a conversation. I've been alone in here for a long time.
Oh, I know the feeling. I know the sitting at the desk, getting work done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm multitasking. I'm also trying to crack the narrative of a new screenplay. And so
Ah,
I'm in that zone too, where I'm a little distracted and constantly thinking about that somewhere in the back of my head and wandering and pacing around my apartment alone a lot.
with the cats.
It seems like I'm alone, even with them.
They're not a lot of conversation going on.
They're great. They're actually very, very helpful, but they're older cats and they sleep a lot. So
Well, I want to get some sad news out of the way. Um, uh, I was before the show. I was talking to Ed Jewett. Yeah, that's it. I just had to get the sad part
oh
out of the way.
God,
Yeah.
that's not sad news. How is Ed, and
No,
what
it
was
can
the
be
sad news?
sad talking to Ed. He's sad sometimes. No, he knows. We tease him. We tease our friend Ed. I was hoping he was going to stay up and listen. He was talking about how he was tired. I said, "You might want to stay up and listen because I'm going to tell Tony that you and I were talking.
That you had a sad conversation.
That I had a sad conversation with." No, I love our friend Ed.
What did
But
Ed say that was sad?
he's no, he didn't say anything that's sad. We just always tease. We always tease.
But I
He's
mean,
doing great.
this started with you saying I have bad news, and now you're
Yeah,
just
just
prolonging
talking to
this.
Ed. I'm teasing Ed right now, and he
Okay,
can't tease back. He's gonna listen to this,
I understand.
and no.
I
Actually,
misinterpreted. I thought you actually did have some actual news
we
that was
do
sad.
actually have some sad news,
Okay.
that Paul Herman passed away yesterday. And for those of you who don't, uh, know him by name, if you Google him or IMDb him, you will know him when you see his face. He was one of, those guys. Uh and was in Goodfellas, in The Irishman, uh, had minor roles in a lot of those movies with the guys like De Niro and Pesci. He was friends with them, and I had a personal connection with him because back when I was in law school and not really wanting to be there, I spent all of my social time with my actor friends and spent probably more time at a bar than I should have, a bar called Columbus, where Paulie actually worked there at the time. This was before he had started getting a lot of acting work, and he worked the door. He was sort of the maitre d' major domo of Columbus, which was a place that a lot of actors hung out, and he was always he was very kind to me. So and a real character. So yeah, I had a warm spot in my heart for him, and I'm sad to know that when I'm in New York, I won't. He was the kind of guy you would bump into sometimes, you
Well,
know.
he was New York. I mean, he really
Yeah,
was, you know?
yeah.
I mean,
And you'd bump into him, and you'd have a cup of coffee or hey, Maddie, how you doing? You know, and it's kind of it's one of those passings that feels like the end of an era to have him gone.
yeah, it really is. It really is. I mean, he's been kind of a New York classic for what? For decades, literally.
Yeah. Yeah, you can only hope that they'll talk about you or me that way when we're gone. Oh God, it's like the end of an era.
Well, they'll talk, but they may not be saying nice things. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Um,
Um,
well, that is sad. I'm sorry that
so,
you for your loss.
yeah.
And any other news from your? You look very tropical. You look like you're about to go look at your crop,
I
or
am
like
looking at my crop. Yeah.
roast
Well,
some
I'm trying to
coffee beans.
cultivate an image. I want to be the Juan Valdez of booze.
The most interesting man in booze. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I like it a lot.
I do have something funny to tell you. Maybe funny. You may laugh at this. We always talk at the beginning of the show about stuff we've been watching, right? And I have been watching The Outer Limits with a friend of mine. And tonight, after the show, after you and I are done, he's coming over, and we will watch. Oh, we have a comment here from somebody. Oh, Mom says she loves the hat. Thank you,
Oh,
Mom.
yeah. I
I'll
thought she
put
might
that up
comment.
there.
Yeah, about it.
There, nice. Thank you, Mom. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm getting used to it. I feel like I have to grow into it. I have to own it.
I think you need to wear something other than a hoodie with it, though,
Oh, yeah, probably.
like a vest or
Well,
something. Like
well, even just a shirt
even
like
that.
this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The hoodie
Yeah,
is a bit distracting from the
it's not
vibe.
this is not a hoodie hat.
No, not
All right,
really.
I'll take off my hoodie.
There you
Um,
go.
Hold on, I can't get it off. I'm stuck.
Somebody call the police.
Oh,
Matthew can't get his shirt off.
I can't get my hoodie there. Is that better? There, I
I
look
think
like
that's more suitable. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So tonight I'll be watching an episode of The Outer Limits that it's the one with David McCallum, and this is the episode of The Outer Limits that freaked me out when I was a little kid.
Oh,
Completely
really?
freaked me out, and so I'm a little nervous about seeing it
Which
tonight.
one? Which one did he do? Do you remember what's about?
Yeah, I remember it's about a scientist who creates some sort of machine that speeds up his evolution so that he'll evolve into like what humans will be later. And at first his forehead starts to get a little bigger, and his head, his hair goes
Oh, so
back
he
a little
turns
bit.
into a gray, kind of
And
like an
by the
alien.
end of it, he's got the huge head that those people on that episode of Star Trek had, the immense head, and they don't have any connection with humans anymore. We start to look like ants to him
He's
because
a drag at the barbecue.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
it freaked me out when I was a little kid. But in the same vein, have you seen a series? I think it's a Netflix show, Midnight Mass
No, I've heard of it.
with
Maddie
Hamish
is
Linklater?
I believe Maddie is a fan of that show. I have not seen it yet.
Well, I decided to give it a try, and I watched an episode, and I thought this is really good. I really enjoyed it, and I went to bed. And the next night, I was like, okay, I'm getting ready for bed. I'm going to watch another episode. And I got about 40 minutes into that episode, and I went, oh, okay, turning it off, not watching this alone. Freaked out.
Yeah. Oh, excellent.
Alone in my apartment,
Nice.
lost. And I said, you are a grown ass man. You're 62 years old, and you can't even finish this episode of a television show because you're too freaked out.
Well, that means you may just be a grown man and not a grown ass man then.
Maybe not a grown ass man.
That sounds like something I would love to see alone at night. So I'm gonna check that out.
And I desperately want to watch more of it. Can't watch it alone. I
Yeah.
need somebody here to watch it with me. So if there are
Okay.
any
Well, if
lovely
there's
lady
anybody's out there that
any
is
lovely
interested,
ladies out there who want to come protect me, let me
Mackie needs
know.
help at his apartment. He can't. He's having trouble with his clothes. He can't get his jacket right, and he
I
needs
can't
help
get my hoodie off.
working the
I
remote
need
control.
I need sartorial advice and help watching a TV show.
Um,
That's my
well,
plea for romance right there.
I will check that out, and I will also I wanna do a deep dive into that show also, in the old show you've been watching,
The Outer Limits?
Outer Limits. I did see a couple episodes recently. I think it was, One Step Beyond, which is also another fun show, uh,
Oh.
a similar kinda show.
Oh, Camille Renner says,
You got somebody
yeah,
who's gonna
Camille's
help
gonna
you
hold my
through the
hand.
terror of the program. That's very nice.
Thank you, Camille.
Um, so then because if you see it, then we could talk about it. So we need to get to see it. Maybe we could break our movie thing and just do
Do
no,
some
we can't do it.
television?
We can't. Everybody's doing TV. And how
Everybody's
are we
doing
gonna
it.
binge a whole show and talk about it in a week?
That's
We
true,
could
that
do
would be a
this.
lot.
We could each dip in to a random show in the middle of a season and pick one middle season show and see if we can figure out what's happening.
We c that would be good. We could also, that would be fun to, like, if we both watched the same episode, like episode 13 of a very complicated series where we didn't know any of the people,
Yeah.
and we had to theorize as to what was going
Yes.
on
And
with
then, if there were people that were watching, they'd seen the show, they could make fun of us in
yeah.
real time as we tried to figure that out.
But, there's a show that we could talk about, which is, the Twilight Zone. We could do, a month of the Twilight Zone at some time where we did 4 episodes a night,
I would totally be down for that.
because they're only a half hour long, and we
Yeah,
could cover 16 episodes of the
in
Twilight
a
Zone
month.
in 1 month.
That would be a great idea. I'm excited about that.
Okay, and the Twilight Zone there are some exceptional people on there and some iconic
It's a
episodes.
classic show. It's great. Even the not great shows are great to watch
Yeah,
because the whole
and
vibe, it creates such a great vibe.
then after that, we can do a month of I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched.
I don't know if those are you legally allowed to even get those shows anymore? I don't
I
know if
don't
those
know.
are available for watching.
Um, so, anything else we can talk about, to fill this hour without having to talk about, the movie?
Oh, well, I do have plenty of notes. I think we can dive in and talk about the movie. I don't know if I have anything else to discuss. Of course, this is a movie podcast show. We could mention the Oscars, which I did not watch except for a couple of clips. I don't know if you want to get into that.
Um, I just heard it was a slap happy good time.
Mm,
Um,
yeah. Uh, yeah, mom was watching and I don't partake.
I
Um,
didn't watch either.
and she called, but I did say I'd like to be updated if anything happens. And so she did call in the middle of it and said, well, something happened. This is unbelievable. Incredible. You have to check it out.
Yeah.
So I was able to flip over to YouTube and it was there right away. And I
Well,
got to see the slap.
they're doing what they can to bring slapstick back,
It's the boost ratings any way you can. The show is dying and people need to tune in.
Yeah.
Did they film that at a Ramada Inn lounge?
I don't
Where
know.
was that?
I not only did I not watch the Oscars, I haven't even watched the slap clip yet.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, you're well out of it. You're well
Um,
out of the whole thing.
um,
The only
I,
thing worse than the slap itself has been the conversation about it.
I,
Honestly, it's just I'm so tired of all of
well,
it.
I had one conversation about it with a friend who was saying people in Hollywood are just crazy, and I said, whoa, hold on a second. Guys that happens 8,000 times a night at a local bar. Somebody says, "Don't you talk about my," and belts them.
Yeah, that's yeah.
You know, the fact that he did it, it's not that alone is not like what's amazing is that to somebody like Will Smith, the Oscars is like going to the local bar. You know,
Yeah, that's
that
pretty that's pretty
there's
funny,
no
yeah.
awareness that, hey, wait a minute, I'm in front of the whole world right now. Maybe I should cool my jets for a moment.
Maybe it's COVID
Or
lockdown
maybe
brain, yeah.
lockdown brain, or maybe that's what got him more upset, was thinking, you know, if he dissed my wife in a parking lot, I might be able to walk away, but he just dissed my wife in front of 18 billion people.
I always find it funny, but the great thing is though that Will Smith is a pretty funny guy, or he used to be anyway, and
Yeah.
you'd think he'd be able to come up with a retort that was cutting enough. I mean, there's plenty he could say about Chris Rock, I'm sure. It's just the fact that he the way that he decided to go. It was just a long protracted moment, which you'll see at some point. It's very he calmly walked up to the stage, which was interesting, and calmly walked back to his seat.
Calmly walked up and belted somebody in the
Well,
face.
he would
And
seem to be like holding in a lot of anger as he walked, but he gathered himself and he slowly, calmly approached the stage.
well,
He didn't bum rush the stage and try to attack him. He calmly, kind of gentlemanly walked up and slapped him in it was a hard slap, but it was almost Victorian. There was a
well,
very kind of
it's
elegant
interesting because, you know, I'm putting my lawyer hat on. I know this doesn't look like a lawyer hat, but
lawyers on the weekend definitely wear hats like that.
wear hats like this. But, you know, I play a lawyer on television sometimes, and I am one. And
All the time.
as a prosecutor, I would love that. Because as a defense lawyer, you're going to say the guy insulted his wife, and in the heat of the moment, he slapped him. And I'd say, can we go to the videotape for a moment, please, and watch as the man calmly gets up out of his seat, walks a long way
Mhm.
slowly,
Mhm.
climbs up on the stage, and then belts the guy in the face. That does not look like the heat of the moment to me. I haven't seen it, but the way you're describing it, that sounds an awful lot like premeditation.
He had the time. Oh, he had time to reconsider it.
He had what they call a cooling off period.
It took like 30 seconds for him to get from his chair to walk up to the stage. He didn't even have to climb on the stage. It was basically just floor level. And Chris Rock is shorter than him. So he didn't have, it wasn't a
Oh,
lot of
so he was beating up on somebody smaller than him.
definitely. Definitely. No diss on
Well,
Rock. Rock is a fit person. I mean, he
yeah.
looks very I just don't think he's tall.
But the thing I'm confused about is there's a lot of talk about, like, is Chris Rock going to press charges? He doesn't have to press charges. The district attorney can all by himself. You don't have to press charges in a crime. Assault is a crime.
Yeah, it's a crime.
He could
But
get arrested.
yes, I realize that. I
If
realize
it
that.
happened on the street corner, you'd get arrested.
Or you'd just be like, it'd be over, and everybody would just go home and forget about it, which is what everybody should do. It's just, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a slap in the face. It doesn't
I
have to
thought it
become a.
was, it was a real slap in the face.
It was real, really, it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, everybody's talking about this. We're talking about it. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about a movie.
Okay. And
Let's talk about fantasy.
is there any other movie we can talk about?
Yeah, there's probably hundreds of thousands of other films we could discuss.
But we said we were going to discuss this one, so I guess it has fallen to us to talk about it.
Hey,
So,
listen.
who's
You
going to
wanna
give the little
you wanna get like heavy on a Thomas Carter movie? You go right on ahead.
well, even Thomas Carter doesn't he knows this movie's not good, I believe.
I don't want to argue with you. I don't want to argue
believe that
about this because I don't think we're going to argue about the movie. I'm just
no,
saying,
and
like,
I believe that Thomas Carter knows it's not good because he spent time and energy blaming other people for how it came out.
that doesn't mean he wants us to sit and talk about how bad it is, though. That
He's
doesn't mean the same. It doesn't mean that.
Thomas, if you give me a call right now, and my phone is here, if you give me a call right now, I'll give you a couple of minutes to call me and tell me you're going to hire me. I'll keep my trap shut.
If anybody's listening and doesn't know who Thomas Carter is, Thomas Carter directed the movie we're talking about tonight. He's also a very well respected and constantly working television director who's
And
had
I
a
love
very
his work. I
long
love his
career.
work, and
Oh
Adam
yeah,
has worked with him, and
I know.
everybody has phenomenal things to say about
Okay.
him, and I have nothing but respect for him. We've all done movies and plays and television shows that didn't turn out well.
Right.
I've
And how
done
do you feel
perhaps
about it when somebody else does a podcast about your bad thing and talks about it and acknowledges it as bad? Do you like
when
that, or do you, or
when somebody does a podcast about my bad thing. I wish
whatever it might be, whatever that,
somebody would do a podcast about my bad thing.
whatever that might be, and it doesn't, just because you agree doesn't mean you're like, yeah, go talk. He probably would rather we forget it,
Okay,
but not
well,
talk about it.
then let me put it this way. If we're gonna instead talk about how wonderful this movie is, this is gonna be a very short show.
Good night.
We'll see you
It's
next
wonderful to
week.
see you.
Um,
So listen, have you really heard interviews with Carter disavowing this movie?
No, but I read things where he said it was, the Eddie Murphy and the bad language that caused it to get an R rating, which is why it didn't do well, and
I might
I
disagree with
and I
that.
would also say that I think there's a lot that went wrong with this movie that I would not lay at the feet of Thomas Carter.
Oh God, I don't think. Look, if you
I don't
want
think
to
there's anything wrong with this movie that I would lay at the
I
feet of
think they
Thomas
invited
Carter.
him to the set.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened. I think they let Thomas Carter come to the set, and they had a chair for him.
Yeah.
And occasionally he would be allowed to like do stuff like talk to the actors, but most of the time the studio was probably, creating this experience.
Yeah. We should quickly tell people what this movie is about.
You all know what it's about. You have all seen this.
You've seen this that's the problem with the movie, is that you've seen this movie 8,000 times.
It is literally a rom-com. This, in terms of its, like, this kind of action cop movie
Yeah.
is the same idea as the rom-com in a certain way. It's just, it's everything clicks into place.
Yep.
You're not surprised at any moment.
No.
No.
There is a bad guy. There's a cop who's
There is.
really good at his job.
Who's a little obsessive about his job.
Yeah, and really good at it.
But he has a thing about saving people.
Yeah. And then there's a bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Who's really bad.
Who's really, really bad.
He's not just a bad, like a criminal, but he's also a bad person.
He's a bad person aside from being a killer and a criminal.
Guess what? It gets personal.
It gets personal because he kills the good guy, the cop's partner and friend, which creates a situation in which we actually have this line in the movie, which what astounded me because I've never heard this concept before. This would be an interesting thing. I'd like to see this idea explored more in other movies, where the wonderful police, the main character, where the wonderful police officer's commanding officer says to him, "You know damn well I can't put you on the case. You're too close to it."
Yeah,
I have never heard anything like that in my life.
Said in the yeah, I think I know the executive who wrote this script or rewrote it. His name is Todd, and he worked in the Dumbo wing in the late 90s. I think I know who he was.
You know damn well I can't put you on the case. You're too close to it. writing a manual on how to write a bad cop movie.
That is
That
Todd
line would be in
or
it.
Brad in the Dumbo wing at Touchstone, writing that for you for your movie before they take you out for sake drinks
Yeah.
at the Volcano Bar.
And
I'm
then there
not
are other
kidding.
things like, they go to see the bad guy before we know he's the really, 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 really bad guy. The two of them drive to the apartment building, and Eddie Murphy's partner says, "I have to go see this guy before we go to the basketball game we're gonna go to." And Eddie Murphy's like, "Do you need me to come up with you?" "No, I'm just gonna chat with him for a minute."
No, I'm just gonna go make a police call alone
Yeah,
without my partner for
and
absolutely no reason.
right, and then the sequence starts with the partner going into the apartment building, cut back to Eddie Murphy at the car. Partner getting on the elevator, cut back to Eddie Murphy at the car, and you sitting there watching this and you're thinking, I wonder if the partner is going to die now.
Yeah, you're wondering if the partner's gonna die. You're also every time you see the partner, you're going, but I wonder what Eddie Murphy's doing in the car. Cut back to that, and they cut back to it, and he's sitting in the car. And you're like,
Yeah,
oh, I guess he's still in the car.
he's still in the well, you know what? No, but there's a good reason why he's sitting in the car, though. Maybe you didn't pick up on this. You didn't pick up on that?
Well, he's in the car because then if he wasn't, he'd help save his partner,
There you go. That's the
right?
reason he's in the car, because
Yeah.
if he was with him, then his partner wouldn't get killed, and why would we be
Folks,
watching
it's
this
that kind of
movie?
movie. We haven't even set it up properly. Eddie Murphy plays a hostage negotiator working for the San Francisco Police Department. We meet him as he is driving to the scene of a act of crime where Donald Logue is holding up a bank. Um, Not a bad job from Donald Logue,
Donald Logue, one of the 2 good things in this movie, in
right?
my opinion.
Donald Logue. I think there are more than two. I would
Okay,
actually argue that there are more than two
okay.
because I think that Art Evans
Oh,
is a joy in everything that he ever did.
yeah, I'll go with that.
I love
Actually,
him.
there's more than 2 good
There's
things
some
in
good
it.
actors, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I think um well, I like Wincott. I do like Michael Wincott, and I like Paul Ben Victor in it. I think
well,
there's
I
some
have
equivalent.
nothing but love for Paul Ben Victor,
He's great. He's great. Have
and
you
he's
worked with him?
wonderful in this.
He is really good at it. Have you worked with him?
No,
Um,
I would love to work with him.
he works a lot, that guy. He's really good. So I think there are good things, but you know, something went wrong because the funny thing is the thing that's wrong with it really isn't that you've seen it all before because we've talked about a bunch of movies on this podcast even where it's really just a rehash of something. It's the same thing you've seen before, but just kind of done with style or fun or something committed, and that's just not happening here. It's not.
No, there's a way to do well, like when we talked about, Silverado.
Good point.
We actually talked about all of the things in Silverado that they cram in there from every Western. We have a poster for
Yeah.
sale called
It-
"Things That Are in Silverado,"
yeah.
and yet it's great because they know they're doing it, and they're bringing joy to the process.
They know they're doing it and they actually love the things they're referencing rather
Yeah,
than just using them as a crutch to get through yet another screenplay. I
yeah.
mean, it's really incredible. It's really incredible how they have so much going for this in terms of what could have been a comedy and how they decided to steer into supposed seriousness with this.
Yep.
You've got Eddie Murphy in the lead, who I know was trying, I guess, at a certain point in his career to do action drama roles and kind of keep up with the action stars, which I don't think that wasn't his thing. I don't think he needed to do that. He's not really good at that stuff.
No,
He's
He's
a
not Bruce
genius,
Willis.
but he's not Bruce Willis.
No.
He doesn't have the physicality that kind of stuff needs. He looked awkward doing the action stuff, and I don't mean to diss him because I love Eddie Murphy, but if they had this, if they, no, all right. Well, I love him. I think that in the right
I
time and right place, he is
Yeah.
genius.
I still have. He walked out when Dad won his Oscar. I hold a grudge. I'm Old
Okay.
Testament. What can I tell you? I'm
But
Old
guess what?
Testament.
Your Old Testament, guess what? Dad, we won. So it doesn't matter. It makes me happy.
Yeah. Okay.
You
Yeah.
know?
There you go. All right.
I
Good.
mean, this got Eddie Murphy so upset that we had to vendetta send a gift to like an 80-year-old man on a set. Like what? Take it easy.
Yeah.
But this doesn't mean I don't love. I mean, I do love Eddie Murphy,
You know,
and
I called Dad the next day, um, and I said to congratulate him, and I said to him, I said, "Hey, listen, be careful opening that gift package from Eddie Murphy." And he said, "How did you know?" And I said, "What do you mean? How did I know?" He said, "A gift package just arrived from Eddie Murphy." I was like, "Really?" Because I was making a joke,
yeah.
and a package had just arrived from Eddie Murphy
Well, I
congratulating him.
I was there when he got the
Oh, you
package.
were there?
Yes, I was in the trailer on the set when it arrived.
Oh, that's a riot.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a box about 3.5, 4 feet tall.
Oh my god. But what Dad said, yeah, it looked like it had a bunch of stuff that he'd gotten from other people, like things that he'd been gifted from other people.
It was a lot. It was obviously regifted stuff, but it also may have been like it looked like an assistant may have run down to a 99-cent store and just grabbed whatever was like
Yeah.
quickly
We've
available.
got to apologize,
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah. It wasn't like there was swag in there from movie stuff, right? It wasn't like that kind of regifting. It was literally like a pair of plastic slippers for the
Somebody went
shower.
to Big Lots.
Yeah, literally. Like a placemat, like crazy. What? It's true. It happened.
Was there a
And
snuggly? Was there a snuggly in there?
there may have been. I don't know. There was a dish towel. I mean, I gotta say, as a vendetta, it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So like I hope that this was intentioned as funny.
Irony. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because they said you have to send a gift, and he was probably like, I'll send a gift, I'll
I'll
send him a
show
box
him a
of
gift.
crap, and he did. It's pretty funny.
Oh my
But
god.
dad won, so whatever.
There you
Anyway,
go.
yeah. But I like Eddie Murphy, and I
I do
guess my point before we completely derailed was that
too.
I'm a little surprised now that with him and Rappaport involved and even Wincott, who can go to camp, evil very easily if he wants to,
Yeah.
that they didn't decide to make this just go for a comedy here. Because they were almost halfway there,
Yeah.
you know?
Um Well, let's go there's some good stuff, and should we I feel like we should start with the bad stuff,
Yes.
and then go to wrap up with the good stuff, so that
So
we end on a positive note. So some of the bad stuff is, um, we've got San Francisco car chases. Now, we've already had Bullet.
yeah, I was like, Bullet, this is not. I have
We've
written in my
already had
notes.
Freebie and the Bean. Freebie and the Bean
We've
came
had the Streets
after
of
Bullet.
San Francisco, which was a
That
TV show that did the same
Yeah,
stuff.
and it just doesn't sorry, it doesn't cut it. First of all, there are times in the scene with the cable car where you can see the rubber tires on the cable car.
No, it's not.
Um, it's
They're
if
not.
you're gonna do a car chase in San Francisco after Bullet and after Freebie and the Bean, you've gotta bring it.
You better not do it, really. It's advisable just not to do it, but if you're gonna do it, don't do this. Because here's you've mentioned a couple things and blown by them in this description that I had to do a full stop at, like action scene on a trolley car. Have you ever been on a trolley car? They go 3 miles an hour. There's nothing exciting about this at all. It's really like they'd never been to San Francisco. And didn't it like they weren't in San Francisco?
Yeah, even though
This
they were, you could tell
it
they were because of the hills
Well, in some
and
of
the
the out
bridge.
but I mean, like, yeah, but only once in a while. It felt more like the Room, the San Francisco from that movie, The Room, than any other
Yes.
San Francisco.
Yeah. They did have a couple of shots in the car chase, which were like, well, they did this shot in Bullet, and it was,
They
the
up in the
cars
air, yeah.
up in the air, yeah, and it's like, yeah,
But and they do it on the same hill. It's the same shot because you can only get some of these shots from one angle legally, probably. So that's why you see that same car jump in every San Francisco
yeah,
car movie, and it gets a little dull. I mean,
yeah.
look, I think there's something we're missing here, though. There's a great meta thing happening, and that is that they actually got Michael Rappaport to do for real what he auditioned to do for T.J. Hooker in the movie True Romance, which is incredible. Incredible. And I don't know if it's on purpose or not, or if it's actually
What are you talking about here?
in the movie True Romance. Michael Rappaport plays an out of luck actor, and we meet him in an audition where he's auditioning for a bit role on the TJ Hooker show. And it's a
Okay.
really funny scene in True Romance. We don't really know who this guy is yet. He's Clarence's friend, and he's auditioning, and he's the worst actor that's ever been. He can't do anything. He can't deliver a line. And so the setup is he's like, okay, TJ, you're driving a car, and a TJ Hooker's on the hood of your car, and just improvise, go. And so he's like, get him, get him, get it. It's absolutely hysterical. I mean, I'm not doing it justice. And that literally happens in this movie. There's somebody on the hood of his car, and there's cutaways to him like in bad TJ Hooker mode going, get him. I
Oh
mean,
my
I
god.
I almost died.
But I think Rappaport he's what made the movie for me more than anything.
He's great, man. Yeah, I mean, he really he took it seriously. He gave it his all. He I think if you know his work, this was actually kind of it was a bit of a surprise for me because he's so good at playing kind of like down and out scruffy guys who, aren't very bright. He
Mhm.
plays characters like that a lot.
Did you see him
And
in the TV series Public Morals?
I never caught Public Morals. I didn't.
1 season, man, and he was spectacular in it.
I've always liked him. And he's just so good, man. He took it seriously, and he like clearly went to training, like when he has to go into commando mode, and
Yeah,
do the sniper stuff, because he plays a sniper in the movie it was his new partner for Eddie Murphy, and
right.
eventually has his back at the end, believe it or not. And he does a good job with that
Yeah.
stuff.
Also, real life hero, by the way. I don't know if you know this.
Well, Rappaport is a fire department guy, right? Is he in the fire department?
No, well, he might be, but the real life hero is he was on an American Airlines flight where a passenger freaked out and started trying to open an emergency door, and
He stopped it.
he stopped it from happening.
Wow, good for
It
him.
could have been very bad if the emergency door. I'm not a pilot, and I've never played one on TV, but
Hmm.
my understanding is that opening a door mid-flight can be bad.
Thanks for the tip.
So don't
Thanks
do
for
it.
telling me now. I could have done this at any time over the years. God.
I've
Um,
got to get out.
yeah, so good job there, Rappaport. Good there. Good job in this movie. I'm going to say there's what's your favorite scene in the movie? Do you have a legitimate scene that you thought was actually a scene you liked?
Do I have a favorite scene?
Unironically. 'Cause there's plenty.
Unironically, yes. Um, my favorite scene in the movie, and this sort of relates back to the TV series that was freaking me out. When they kept screwing with us with, what was the actor's
Well, her
name?
closing the
Her
mirror.
opening and closing the mirror, and I every time she's standing in the bathroom and she walks up to the mirror and looks at herself, and we've already seen, like, that the floor is a little wet, and we know the POV shots from outside her apartment, and then the shot of her walking up to the mirror and opening the
The medicine
door,
cabinet, and
and you
you're
just
just
know when she closes the medicine cabinet that we're gonna get the scare of the guy behind her, and they do it a couple of times, and and they trick us.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, that's witty.
They actually trick us 3 times because they do it twice with the mirror, and then the camera turns, and you think he's gonna be in the hallway then, and
Right.
there's nobody down there either, so that
Okay,
was
and
smart.
now see, if we wanna really get into this, that's Thomas Carter.
Oh, without a doubt, there's other things that are Thomas Carter that I saw for real, because there are interspersed in this ridiculous script, right, in this ludicrous plot. There are well-chosen actors in the smaller roles,
Yep.
and when they get to do a scene where they're just talking like human beings and Eddie Murphy's not there star tripping,
Yeah.
it actually is great.
Yeah.
Case in point, I think there's a really excellent scene in the middle of this movie that looked like it was from, some other movie that we covered. It looked a little bit like Light Sleeper, and it was the scene where, the cop who's about to die, Art Evans, goes and visits Wincott at his apartment before he dies.
Mhm.
And he goes up to the apartment, and he's casing the joint. He's got some questions. He thinks this guy might be a suspect. And Wincott has a whole persona that he's created, I guess, to live in this apartment, to be this person that he's not.
Yeah.
And that's a really nervy scene, and they're both great in it. That was a really well done scene. And then it drops back into like hackneyed Hollywood screenwriting and silliness. So, but
Yeah.
that was a great scene. And the scene,
So Thomas, if you're listening, I want you to pay attention here. We love your work in this movie. It's everything else we have a problem with.
I don't know what you can do in '97 with the Eddie Murphy movie and all those studio
Yeah.
executives. I don't know what you're gonna do.
I have a list of problems.
I'm not done with the things I like.
Oh.
There is something I like, but then maybe this can lead right into the problems, because
Okay.
this is kind of both. I loved the test that Eddie Murphy gives Rappaport with the Coke bottle,
Yes, that was really good.
which is a nice thing that he sets up a little puzzle for him as this newbie.
Yeah.
And he gives him a Coke bottle with like a pen cap in it, an empty Coke bottle. And he says, your job is to figure out how to get this pen cap out of this Coke bottle without touching the Coke bottle.
And without breaking. Yeah.
And without breaking it.
Yeah.
And several scenes later, Michael Rappaport shows him, he says, I figured it out. And he kind of passes this test, and they kind of bond about that a little bit. And the way that he passes the test is really cool. He pours water into the Coke bottle, and the cap rises to the top, and he just takes it out.
Right.
He's like, great, you did a good job.
And it's a great character illustration too, that he's not just a guy from SWAT who can solve problems by shooting them.
No, he's exactly. He's smart. He can use his brain, but it's also a philosophy that Eddie Murphy's trying to get across to him, which is nonviolence, which is you don't break the bottle. You have to do this in a way with the least possible amount of damage. Okay, so this is like this kind of like a Karate Kid moment almost.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, how interesting. There's a philosophy here. We're gonna play out. It's like, nope, they're gonna break that bottle. That it's like shatter it completely, throw it against the wall.
He's like, good, you learned that lesson. Now let's go break some bottles.
We're never gonna reference it again.
Yeah. There was also another nice thing in the writing, which was the misdirect about the character Troy, where Eddie Murphy is in love with this woman at the beginning of the movie, and we find out that she's a reporter, and we find out that they used to be together, but now she's going out with a baseball player. But they used to be together, and he's talking about Troy, and she's saying, well, you haven't come to visit him, and he gets disappointed, and you think, oh God, they had a kid together, and you're thinking it's a kid, and then he shows up at her apartment, and it turns out it's the dog, and you're like, oh, it was a nice little misdirect.
It was a nice misdirect. It's too bad they didn't get the memo that Eddie Murphy clearly doesn't like animals. The relationship was clearly strained.
Yeah. A couple of things we didn't talk about that we usually talk about is, did you have any relationship with this movie before we watched it?
No, I'd never seen it before.
Me neither.
I vaguely remembered the
We
poster.
watched it because Peter Stray recommended
Yeah,
it.
friend of the show and friend of mine, Peter Stray.
Not
Uh,
anymore.
oh no, he's fully in on this. He would agree. I'm sure
I'm
understand.
coming for you, Peter.
Oh, this has got some fun. I mean, this is
No.
cheeky, as he would say, a cheeky film.
Cheeky film. No, and I love
Yes,
Peter. It's not actually a complaint.
this was a lot of fun. I mean,
And
I did
also,
enjoy myself.
referencing our show last week, um, you know who loved this movie? Or did no, I don't know that loved it, but had good things to say about it?
Eddie Murphy,
Your very good friend Roger Ebert.
Roger Ebert liked it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why he did,
He
but
says the big action scenes are cleverly staged, and Eddie Murphy is back on his game again with a high energy performance and crisp dialogue. I
that's
think he
wrong.
saw something else.
That's not true.
No.
He saw the golden child
Yeah.
actually and mistook it.
Yeah. No,
He's wrong.
Stephen Holden from the New York Times hated it.
Well, once in a while I agree with the critic, and I agree with the Holden on that. But
Yes.
man, I mean, I didn't hate it. I enjoyed it. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous movie. It's a perfect. You know what? This is a perfect hotel room movie. Is there a better movie for your hotel room stay when you're like doing a couple of days on a show in Atlanta or Toronto? This is what you see. Okay.
Okay.
Those are the good things. The bad things, I'm going to start off with this. This is the worst display of cooking I've ever seen in a movie. Please don't go to Tahiti. Take some cooking classes. You don't taste salad dressing like soup. He's making it like a gazpacho. I don't know what. I don't think he's ever touched food before. It's the same thing when like Tom Cruise does something normal, like eat a sandwich in a movie. He would like use a knife and fork. He wouldn't quite know how a sandwich works because
Yeah.
that's done for you. I don't. Somebody does sandwich.
Yeah. Well, in War of the Worlds, when he just makes a peanut butter sandwich, he doesn't make a
He's
peanut
never
butter and
heard of
jelly
hummus.
sandwich.
He never doesn't
Yeah.
know what hummus is.
No. Okay, what else? Because I have a list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I have I'm looking at a list too.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
nothing but list. I mean, what do we say? Do we want to say I don't know where do you begin on your list? Go ahead. Why don't you take a
Well, I
stab?
begin with, how does the bad guy know that Eddie Murphy has a girlfriend to terrorize?
Well, why wouldn't he?
Oh, right. Okay. Sorry.
I mean,
He's like,
he's a
when I
good-looking
get
guy.
out of I get out of prison and I escape from prison and go straight to your girlfriend's house.
I think, we can assume that he had some friends in prison do a little searching out. He did a little research.
So it's
No.
not the girlfriend of cops directory that he looked
Maybe it's that. I don't know. It's the Thomas Guide. I don't know.
the Ross report of cops' girlfriends. Here's a little detail. You're a woman who care a lot about your appearance. You're a TV reporter and very fashionable. And by accident, you're making a spaghetti sauce, and by accident you get a lot of the spaghetti sauce on your shirt. So you have to go change your shirt.
Right.
So you walk into your bedroom and you take off the shirt that is covered in spaghetti sauce and you toss it on your bed.
Yeah.
Does that happen?
It doesn't not happen. In San Francisco, anything can happen, Matthew. Crazy things happen. But
right.
I mean, this is the same thing where like at the end of the movie, they're wrapping things up and they're gonna go to Tahiti. Right. And you think everything's safe and they're going to take this trip to Tahiti. She's like, oh, I'll be right back. He's packing the car. They've got their luggage done. She's a professional photographer.
Yes.
Professional. She's like, oh, 1 second. I'm just going to go upstairs and get my cameras.
Yes. And the reason we're getting out of town, one of the reasons we're getting out of town is because the guy who wants to kill you has escaped from prison.
Yeah.
So why don't you run alone up to the apartment and get your camera?
Yeah, he actually he this character constantly does the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Constantly. He's just never there when people need him.
Okay, and then right after that moment, so she's attacked, a brutal attack in the apartment. And the next scene is the two of them out for a lovely dinner at a
Yeah, that's
fancy
what I was
restaurant.
gonna say. Like she is strangled nearly to death in a home invasion. It's scary, and she's almost killed. And Eddie Murphy saves the day at the last minute, chases the guy down. The guy is killed mid chase. It's a brutal evening. It's horrible. Cut to the fanciest date dinner you've ever seen, and it's smiles and candlelight and like
Well, Tony, clearly this illustrates why your dating life didn't go as smoothly as it could have. When a woman is brutalized, nothing cheers her up more than
then a French restaurant.
dinner at a fancy French restaurant.
Yeah, it was incredible how quickly they got over this. It's incredible how quickly he got over the death of his partner. It's
Yeah,
incredible how little she cared about the death of his partner. Like
yeah,
that part of this movie is kind of creepy. It's a little emotionally disconnected.
yeah,
I mean the murders don't seem to impact anybody. Um, and
yeah.
I mean I laughed a lot, but not so much that I say like you had to see it. You have to see it to believe it. You can believe it. You're just like, I'd rather not believe it, but I don't have a choice.
Do you have more things on the list of things that went wrong?
Well, does a police captain in San Francisco actually have a 7 foot long blue 67 caddy with a soft top? Like, is that really what a captain drives?
Well, didn't he get it out of the police impound?
No, that's the captain's car, apparently. He takes his
Oh,
keys.
oh,
That was funny. You know, uh, I thought the fact that he does the Indiana Jones stunt twice. It's not bad enough that he does the Indiana Jones on the trolley car,
right.
but then he does it at the truck at the end of the movie. Um, Good explosions, I will say. Once they finally like got the pyro guy on set, great job. It looked like the same guy who did Christine. I mean, that car comes out of that warehouse with
Oh, on
a
fire.
lot of firepower going on. I mean, there's
Yeah.
just like gasoline things exploding and oil cans going off in the air. It's crazy.
One little moment I liked was when Eddie Murphy goes into the warehouse to confront the bad guy, and Michael Rappaport is up on the building as doing his sniper style to cover Eddie Murphy. And Eddie Murphy wants to know if he's there, if he's in position. And Eddie Murphy has his hands up. And Michael Rappaport says, "Yeah, I got you." And he puts the red spot from the scope on the back of one of Eddie Murphy's hands so that Eddie Murphy can know that he's there and
That
safe.
that was really clever. That was very,
Clever
very,
touch.
very cool. As was the little moment, but fun when he's leaving the bank that Donald Logue's taken hostage of in the beginning of the movie, and he can see Logue's reflection in the bank door as he's
Yes,
leaving, and can see when he turns away and knows his moment to turn and shoot him based on that. That was cool.
that was
You
clever.
know, not they
Well,
didn't
I
invent
saw,
it, but it was good.
yeah. Well, for the first 10 minutes of this movie, I actually thought we're in for a good ride. It didn't disappoint me right off the bat. It took a
No,
little while to disappoint me. And then it seemed like about 2/3 of the way through, it gave up, and Eddie Murphy started doing the Eddie Murphy shtick, which didn't work, the British accent, and we're going to go to Tahiti and all that. And I was like, this
yeah,
it's not the same character, dude.
it's not what you set out to do. It does seem like he maybe got nervous of the serious cop attitude thing and then tried to lighten it up as he went, and it was an odd mix.
Yeah.
because it really did, like, I guess you're right. This level of, you know, cop drama, melodrama, action, horseshit that we've seen 1,000 times, like, you need to play into that a little bit to carry this off. You can't joke about it without
No,
the rest of the movie being in on that joke. I mean, you have to kind of
you
go
have to
along with it,
commit.
and that's why a guy like, like Andy Garcia could have been in this, and then it would have been like, you know, like, no, I would take this seriously from the beginning, and we're not going to joke around about it, and it
Yeah,
probably would have worked better.
yeah.
Um, Again, no
Um,
diss on Eddie Murphy. I love Eddie Murphy. Just stick to the funny stuff, like we talked about.
so your how to watch this movie was in a hotel room on location when you're alone in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
My how to watch was while wearing a sleep mask. Um,
But you like the soundtrack, clearly.
well, Toto.
Yeah. Who doesn't like that?
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
it was, Steve Porcaro of Toto. How can you not win with that?
that's a win for everybody.
What about the double feature for this?
I'm gonna say, I want to do something a little bit more esoteric. I want to go with the movie called The Hunter, starring Steve McQueen, and he plays
Ah,
a bounty hunter with a similar problem on his hands, with a kidnapped girlfriend, played by Catherine Ross, I believe. And I think The Hunter is a better movie.
okay. I'll go with that. Totally. I buy that. I went 2 different directions. One was Bullet, saying if to make up for what they did to San Francisco in
I
this movie.
But I don't want Bullet to have to hang out with this movie.
No, that's true. So you'll like my other choice better then.
What's that?
Nighthawks.
Perfect. This is perfect.
Right? Because the scene
Yeah,
with the woman where Stallone is dressed up as his girlfriend to protect her,
I love it.
right?
I love it. So who are you in the film?
I am definitely his boring partner who gets killed.
You're Art who's the wait, the guy wait, his partner or Art Evans?
Art Evans, who gets killed.
Yeah, Art Evans does
Yeah.
get killed.
Who goes, the sort of regular guy, sleepy cop who, "Yeah, I'm gonna go in here and get killed."
You gave yourself a pretty big part.
Well,
Interesting.
it wasn't the size of
Interesting.
the role, it was the
Oh no, it had nothing to do with it.
had nothing to do with the size of the role. It was the Shlomo who gets killed.
Am I the toilet attendant? Who am I?
No, you're Paul Ben Victor. I
Oh,
give
I'm
you
Paul
a
Ben.
bigger
Oh, you
part,
give me a big part. Okay.
and I think you would play the shit out of that
I
role.
would definitely get the audition for that role for
Yeah, and
sure.
you'd be great in that role.
Well, you in my version get the best line. Because your part is the prison guard who doesn't notice that Wincott is escaping prison because he's on the phone on the worst improv I've ever heard saying, "Well, if it's not here by 5, it's not my problem. Don't talk to me about Mitch. I'll tell you about Mitch." That's his improv, and I thought that would be a role for you.
That would thank
I'm
you very much.
I'm the wine merchant. I'm the guy he buys wine from in the middle of the movie, so that's where we are.
Oh my gosh. See, that guy, the prison guard, was trying to channel now I'm blanking on his name.
Oh, he
God
was trying to do
forgive me.
Dan Hedaya from
Dan, that's what I was saying. He's trying to do Dan
yeah,
Hedaya
from Joe
from
versus the
Joe versus
Volcano. Yeah,
Volcano.
yeah.
I'm not arguing
I'm
that
not
with you.
arguing with that.
That would
I
have
know
been
he
good.
can get the job, but can he do
Can
the
he do the
job?
job? I did not say that.
I did not. I'm not saying that to you. I'm not arguing that with you. I am not
If
arguing
I
that
had
with you.
said that, I would have been wrong.
It's so good.
One of the great scenes. That's one of my favorite scenes in movie
I do
history.
love that. Yeah.
Um, okay, so and what else do we have? What would I didn't come up with any sequel for this. I couldn't come up with a name for a sequel for this movie.
With a name for a sequel,
Yeah, what would we call the sequel to this movie?
uh, Oh,
I don't know. Never mind.
I
Well,
think this. I don't
how
know.
about recasting? Who would you recast in Eddie Murphy's
I
role?
lost the will to live. I don't have a recast.
Oh, I had something very specific down for that.
I'd like to hear your recasting.
Anybody
Okay,
is
that's
what I
kind of how
wrote
I
down.
felt.
Anybody but
It's
him
also
in this
close
role.
enough so that almost these people could almost still play these parts. Like it's
Yeah.
not that far away in a way. And
I did come up, I think, with an interesting actor for the bad guy.
yeah.
Cillian Murphy.
Oh, okay, great. He has a similar win count, but he could
Yeah,
go win count. Yeah,
I think he'd be really good.
I must say that seeing Michael Wincott, that was kind of cool because I hadn't seen him in a long time, and I forgot what a great villain he was. You know, I don't think I gave him the respect he deserved at the time when I was a young moviegoer. He was a great and very commanding film presence in the 90s, don't you think?
I'm not familiar with him.
Oh, really? He played villains in a lot of really interesting movies. Um, so yeah, that's it. Oh, I will say, okay, this gets the award for the stupidest sound effect I have ever heard in my life.
Okay.
Um, okay, they think someone's broken in. The dog is missing. There's a tense moment where they're looking for the dog, and he pulls his gun because he thinks someone's broken into her apartment. They haven't. And she's like, "Oh, why did you pull your gun?" And he's like, "I'm just a little nervy." And he like kind of slowly reholsters his gun, and he slowly puts his gun back in, and they literally put a whoosh, they put a swoosh sound effect
Oh,
as he slowly puts his gun back in its holster. I was like, "Are you?"
wow.
Now I don't know if that's supposed to be funny. Who thinks they're a comedian? But that happened.
Well, I guess there's nothing more to say about. Oh, well, I have one other question,
Uh-huh.
actually. The title of this movie is Metro.
It is.
Yeah.
You are correct.
And what? Metro?
It's a city police department.
Oh. So this movie is a portrait of what it's like to be on a big
Any
city.
any big city police
Any
department
big
in
city
America.
police
Yeah,
department
yeah.
with Metro.
It's like it's like a slice of life.
Well, that would be the sequel to this movie. The sequel to this movie should be Metro North, and it's
yes,
about a conductor
what it's like to be a
on the
subway
Harlem line.
train. Yeah, okay, yeah,
The Harlem line from Scarsdale
yeah.
to Manhattan. Yeah.
They did that. They did Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 already. They could just do that.
Yeah. That was a good movie.
That is a good movie. Well, the first one, the
first
remake
one.
is less good.
Yeah. The book, spectacular.
I don't have anything to say about that.
Yeah,
I didn't have much to say about this. I mean, I feel like it's weird with these movies. Either that we have a conversation about them, we don't. I can't tell which ones are gonna like fire us up or not. I had a fine time with this, but it didn't make me crazy to discuss it.
No. And yet I had a great time talking to you.
Well, I like seeing you very much. I like the hat. I love I love the discussion. I love some human contact in my life. I find to be important. You're the guy. You're the only one. So thank you for this hour of human contact I get. Yeah.
And thank you to the huge audience out there listening and joining us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I do have a question. Has any cop ever been less concerned with losing his gun than Eddie Murphy in this movie?
Oh no.
He's like, I need my gun. I guess I lost my gun. And Michael Rappaport's like, here, take my extra one. It's like, oh, thanks. Like,
I've got one.
Zero protocols. Oh, the other thing I love, there's a couple of lines I forgot. Okay, it starts early. Eddie Murphy's going into the bank to approach Donald Logue, and they go cut to the snipers up on top. It might be Rappaport for all we know. And he says,
right.
The sniper goes, what makes a guy do that? It's like I knew we were in trouble right away. One hostage out, 17 to go. That's another good line. Scott, you can't save everyone. She said that to him and his girlfriend. That was good.
Well,
And
that's
then
important to know.
my final is after kicking the villain in the face, Eddie Murphy says, "Okay, we're gonna do this by the book then."
Well, that's an interesting book.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's it. That's all I got.
All right.
That
Well,
was Metro.
next week we've decided we didn't know what we were going to do. We did this movie at the suggestion of our friend Peter Stray and friend of the show. But we've decided to go with cop sort of.
Yeah, we're gonna do '90s cop movies that we haven't seen,
Yeah,
right? So that we're actually completely unfamiliar with. So what did we choose for next week?
New Jack City from 1991, directed by the estimable Mario Van Peebles
Yes.
and starring Wesley Snipes and Ice-T.
I can't wait. I've never seen it. I know it's a
Yeah.
famous movie. I'm
And
looking
between
forward.
the two of them, they wrote a chapter and a half of the book on acting.
Yes, and Ice-T is so good on these new Gain commercials.
Yeah,
I'm anxious to see his whole repertoire at this point.
yeah. So, join us next week for New Jack City and, like us on, every piece of social media there is.
All of it.
We'll talk
Thank
to you
you.
soon. Good night.